Hi, I am Sherin Beevi, Assistant Professor in CSE Department from RMD Engineering College. So discussed about the topic is difference between memory mapped and IO mapped. The main or basic difference between memory mapped IO and IO mapped IO is that the memory mapped IO uses the same address space for both memory and IO, while the IO mapped IO uses the separate address space for memory and the IO devices. So CPU uses two methods to perform input-output operation between the CPU and the peripheral devices in the computer. These two methods are called memory mapped IO and IO mapped IO. These two methods, the memory mapped IO uses the same address space to the address both memory and the IO devices. The memory and the IO devices use the same address space, but in the IO mapped IO uses the separate address space to address the memory and IO devices. So the basic is IO devices are treated as memory. So here IO devices are treated as the IO devices. So allotted the address sizes for memory mapped IO is 16-bit. So IO mapped IO for only 8-bit. So the data transfer instruction the same for memory and IO devices. But here the different cycles involved. So memory read and write. Memory read cycle, memory write cycle. So here we have to tell IO read and IO write. Interfacing of IO port. So here interfacing is very large, around 64,000. So comparatively, memory mapped IO, it is very small, just 256. The control signal. No separate control signal is needed for IO devices. Because here we are using treated as a memory only. It's not here treated as a IO devices. So here no separate control signal is needed for IO devices. Here the special control signal is used for IO devices. The efficiency is very less in memory mapped IO, but comparatively if this it is very more. More efficiency is IO mapped IO. Decoder hardware. So more decoder hardware is required, here less only. IO slash memory bar. IO and memory bar. So during the memory read and memory write operation is very low, but here compared to memory mapped IO, IO mapped IO is high. The data movement between register and port, here data movement between accumulator and to the port. So the logical approach is simple, and here IO mapped IO is very complex comparing to this memory mapped IO. The usability of this, it is in a small systems where memory requirement is very less, but in system that need large memory space. Speed of memory mapped IO is slow, but comparatively to the memory mapped IO mapped IO is fast. Thank you.